up in time. Clark for the win.
19 million viewers. That's how many people tuned in to watch Caitlin Clark in the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship. To put that in perspective, it beat every NBA Finals game since 2018.
Iowa's Caitlin Clark has become a national phenom, and some fans say they went the extra mile just to watch her play here.
The WNBA, long overshadowed by its male counterpart, is now approaching the NBA's popularity. With Clark leading the charge, WNBA viewership has jumped to 1.2 million per game compared to the NBA's 1.56 million. The landscape of professional basketball is changing, and fans are taking notice. In a world where men's basketball dominates headlines, Caitlin Clark is changing the game. This 6-foot guard from Iowa didn't stumble into the spotlight. She fought for it. Growing up in West Des Moines, Clark was the kid who'd rather shoot hoops in the driveway than watch TV. But being a girl who loved basketball came with its own set of challenges. Think about it. How many times have we heard that women's sports aren't as exciting, that they can't draw crowds like men's games? Clark faced these stereotypes head on. In high school, she'd regularly outscore entire opposing teams.
UCLA game, that's how sick she was. Clark!
Yet the stands weren't always full. The coverage wasn't always there. But Clark? She kept pushing. Clark's college career was nothing short of historic. She averaged 31.6 points, 7.1 rebounds, and 8.9 assists per game in her senior year, becoming the all-time leading scorer in NCAA Division I basketball history, men's or women's. Clark didn't just break records, she shattered them.
Caitlin Clark has been named WNBA Rookie of the Year, the #1 overall pick. Didn't only break rookie records in her first year in the W, but she also took down a few league records, including scoring the most points by a guard in a single season.
But it's more than just the numbers. Clark's playing style is redefining women's basketball. When was the last time you saw a women's player consistently drain three-pointers from NBA range? Clark's average three-point distance is 28.1 feet, farther than the NBA average. She's expanding the boundaries of the game. Clark's WNBA debut with the Indiana Fever was a watershed moment. The viewership? A record-breaking 2.45 million, more than double the previous record for a WNBA opener. To put it in perspective, that's more viewers than the average NHL game gets. Clark's impact goes far beyond just one game. She's changing how we view women's basketball and sports altogether. The next question is, how far can she take it? Caitlin Clark is transforming the WNBA in a way we haven't seen since Bird and Magic revolutionized the NBA. She's not just changing the game, she's sparking a cultural shift that extends beyond basketball. Let's rewind for a second. Remember when the NBA was struggling? Games on tape delay, low attendance, the works. Bird and Johnson didn't just play basketball. They transformed the entire sport, turning a struggling league into a global phenomenon. Now fast forward to today. The WNBA has been fighting an uphill battle for years. Low viewership, minimal media coverage, constant comparisons to the men's game. Sound familiar? It's like deja vu, but with a twist. Enter Caitlin Clark. Clark is changing how people view women in sports. Period. Think about it. When's the last time you saw people arguing about WNBA stats the way they debate LeBron versus Jordan? Clark's making that happen. WNBA social media engagement is skyrocketing. And here's what's interesting. People aren't just debating whether the league deserves to exist anymore. They're talking about player rivalries, game strategies, and highlight reels. It's a whole new ball game. Clark's impact goes way beyond social media metrics. She's inspiring a whole new generation of ballers. Young girls are hitting the courts in droves, dreaming of being the next Caitlin Clark. One young athlete put it this way: Caitlin Clark is my role model. Watching her play makes me want to work harder and be like her on the court. Ask yourself this: when was the last time a women's basketball player had that kind of cultural impact? We're not just talking about increased youth participation. We're talking about changing the entire conversation around women's sports. The big question now is, how far can this go? Can Clark turn women's basketball into a cultural juggernaut? She's proving that women's sports can be just as exciting, just as competitive, and just as worthy of attention as men's. And people are starting to listen. But with great power comes great scrutiny. As Clark's star rises, so does the pressure. Can she handle being the face of a league? Can she live up to the hype? And what about the other players in the WNBA? How are they reacting to all this attention on one rookie? Clark's spotlight is blinding, and not everyone's basking in its glow. Her meteoric rise has the WNBA buzzing, but there's a growing undercurrent of discontent. Are we witnessing the birth of a league savior, or the creation of a divisive figure that could fracture the very foundation she's meant to strengthen? Let's talk about being the face of the league. It's about carrying the weight of an entire sport on your shoulders. For Clark, that weight is immense. She's expected to transform the WNBA single-handedly. Think about the pressure. Every missed shot, every turnover becomes ammunition for critics who say women's basketball can't compete. But here's where it gets complicated. Some WNBA veterans are speaking out, and they're not all singing Clark's praises. The criticism isn't about her game, it's about the spotlight. When one player gets all the attention, what happens to everyone else? These are athletes who've been grinding for years, pushing the league forward inch by inch. Now they're watching a rookie dominate headlines. It's creating a rift that could have serious consequences for team dynamics and league unity. The pressure on Clark is intense. She's carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire generation of female athletes. Every game is a statement, every interview a chance to prove the naysayers wrong. But ask yourself this: is it fair to put all that on one player's shoulders? And more importantly, is it sustainable? Other WNBA players are caught in a tough spot. Clark's popularity is bringing more eyes to the league, which is good for everyone, but they're also fighting for their share of recognition. Some are embracing the challenge, upping their game. Others are frustrated, feeling like their contributions are being overlooked. The long-term effects on the league could go either way. Best case scenario, Clark's star power elevates the entire WNBA, creating more opportunities for everyone. More viewers, more sponsorships, more growth. But there's a flip side. If the league becomes too Clark-centric, what happens if she falters? Or worse, what if she gets injured? The WNBA could find itself back at square one, or even worse off. Here's the thing though, Clark's success doesn't have to come at the expense of her peers. It could be the catalyst that propels the entire league to new heights. More viewers mean more exposure for all players. More interest means more investment in women's basketball at all levels. Clark might be the face, but she could open doors for an entire generation of players. But the real question is, can Clark sustain this level of impact? The spotlight's harsh and the pressure's immense. Only time will tell if she can carry the weight of a league's future. Clark's rookie season has been impressive, but what if it's just the beginning? Experts are making bold predictions about her career trajectory, suggesting we might witness something unprecedented in women's basketball history. The real question, sustaining her impact, but about the potential transformation of the entire sport.
Pull back to Clark. She will launch and bury a three.
When we talk about legacy in sports, we're looking at players who changed the game itself. Clark's rookie season isn't just good, it's historic. Her three-point shooting distance alone is rewriting the playbook. At 28.1 feet on average, she's outgunning NBA players. This isn't a player adapting to the pro game, this is a player forcing the game to adapt to her. The ripple effects are already visible. Youth basketball programs are changing their training methods to mimic Clark's style. Young players aren't just dreaming of making it to the WNBA anymore, they're dreaming of shooting like Clark. This is a player changing how the game is played at a fundamental level. Media coverage of women's basketball is shifting too. Instead of debating whether the WNBA deserves attention, people are talking about players, records, and rivalries. Clark is changing the conversation around the game, but what does this mean for the WNBA's future? If Clark can maintain this trajectory, we could be looking at unprecedented growth in viewership, sponsorships, and cultural relevance for women's basketball. The league's future doesn't rest solely on Clark's shoulders, but her impact could be the catalyst that propels women's basketball into a new era. Think about it. We're not just talking about closing the gap with the NBA anymore. We're talking about creating a new paradigm in professional sports. The true measure of Clark's impact might surprise you. It's about inspiring a generation, challenging perceptions, and redefining what's possible in women's sports. Clark isn't just playing basketball, she's making history. If you're excited to see how far Clark and the WNBA can go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us as we follow this incredible journey.